Welcome to the deep dive. We've pulled together a really interesting stack of reports today. We're going to try and get under the skin of the big shifts happening in cloud computing for 2025.
Yeah, the idea is to give you a clear sort of shortcut to the essential intel,
Mm.
what you really need to understand about where things are heading.
Exactly. We want to synthesize the core findings, cut through some of the hype, maybe.
Right. Deliver a clear perspective without getting totally lost in the technical jargon. It's about the key insights, those aha moments.
Okay, so the sources we're drawing on today, quite a few actually. We've got Wipro's Cloud Trends 2025, Gower on Edge Trends, Cloud Propso's 10 Cloud Trends, Geeks for Geeks, Veritas on Emerging Tech, CNCF's Top 6 Trends, Grandview Research on Serverless, and Yada Infrastructure on Key Trends.
It's a pretty broad look, covering infrastructure, applications, security, the works.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the common threads, but also where, different sources put the emphasis. So get ready. We're going to look at how the cloud is getting much more tailored for specific industries. We'll also dig into why the location of data is suddenly such a big deal.
And the surprising ways AI is weaving itself into the cloud's fabric. It's not just running on the cloud anymore.
Okay, so much to cover. Where should we dive in first?
Well, a really foundational shift seems to be how organizations are using multiple cloud environments. This whole multi-cloud and hybrid cloud thing is really picking up steam.
Right, the future's hybrid idea, Wipro mentioned that. It's not just about choosing AWS or Azure anymore, is it?
No, not at all. And it's driven by quite a few factors. Think about companies operating globally. Different providers might perform better or have better compliance in certain regions.
Okay, geographic spread. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's just the reality of diverse application portfolios. You've got legacy stuff, modern apps. They don't all fit neatly into one box.
Plus, some companies are maybe taking a slower, more gradual approach to the cloud. Hybrid lets them do that.
Exactly. It's a stepping stone.
Mhm.
But the key thing is it's becoming more strategic. It might have started accidentally, but now it's a deliberate architectural choice for resilience, for advantage.
It's like designing a whole workshop instead of just renting one tool.
That's a great analogy. And Wipro actually breaks down a few ways people are architecting this. There's the data-oriented approach.
Data-oriented, how does that work?
Basically, choosing clouds based on how well they handle certain databases. Like, they suggest AWS might be better for Oracle or PostgreSQL, while maybe Azure is the go-to for MS SQL.
Interesting. So the data dictates the cloud. What else?
Then there's service-oriented. This is more about migrating specific business applications or their component services, APIs, processing logic to different clouds based on what they offer.
So picking the best service from AWS, maybe another from Azure, another from GCP for the same application.
Potentially, yeah. They give an example like Apigee on GCP, service orchestration on Azure, hub services on AWS. It's about picking the best tool for each part of the job.
Like getting the best instruments for the orchestra, even if they're from different makers.
Precisely. And the third pattern they mention is process-oriented, which kind of combines the other two. The focus here is on making things easy to move around, flexible.
So maybe ERP on AWS, the website front end on Azure, and analytics on GCP, that kind of mix.
Exactly that kind of thing. It's leveraging the specific strengths of each platform's services, not just the underlying infrastructure or database. Requires a really deep understanding of your whole landscape, though.
Sounds complex to manage. Is this different from what people call distributed cloud? I hear that term too.
Good question. Yes, it is different. Distributed cloud is more about deploying a single provider's services across multiple physical locations, maybe different data centers, maybe even out to the edge. But it's all managed centrally by that one provider.
Okay, so distributed is one provider, multiple locations. Multi-cloud is multiple providers.
You got it. Distributed cloud helps with things like local regulations while keeping one management plane. Multi-cloud is about choice across providers.
So with that added complexity of multi-cloud, why do it? What are the big wins?
Well, avoiding vendor lock-in is a huge one. You're not tied to one provider's roadmap or pricing whims.
Right, more freedom.
Definitely. And redundancy. If one cloud has an issue, hopefully your services on another are still running.
Built-in backup, sort of.
Yeah, and cost optimization. You can shop around for the best price or performance for specific workloads. Plus, it helps meet those tricky regulatory requirements that differ region by region.
But surely managing all that different interfaces, different security models, different bills, that must be a headache.
It absolutely can be. That's where the strategy comes in. You need strong governance, automation, maybe platform tools to abstract some of that complexity.
Wipro had a real-world example, didn't they? With a European client.
They did. They helped this client really analyze their applications based on business needs, then containerized and modernized them for a multi-cloud setup.
And the result?
Streamlined support, an upskilled workforce, and a much more efficient transformation overall. They use specific frameworks and automation to make it manageable.
Okay, so it's achievable with the right approach. Now, another area generating a lot of buzz is edge computing. Feels like it's popping up everywhere.
It really is. Edge is basically about moving the compute power closer to where the data is actually being generated, instead of sending everything back to a big central cloud data center.
Why the shift?
It's mainly driven by the need for super low latency and real-time processing. Think applications that need instant responses.
And the market growth reflects that demand, right?
Oh, absolutely. IDC predicts the edge market will hit something like $250 billion by 2025. That's a huge growth rate, over 37% CAGR starting now.
Wow. And that's fueled by things like IoT.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All those connected devices generating tons of data, plus the need for real-time analytics on that data.
And this connects back to that distributed cloud idea we talked about.
It does. Gartner sees distributed cloud where the provider's data center location isn't the main constraint as the future. Edge is a key part of making that distributed model work.
Makes sense. And 5G plays a big role here, too.
Crucial role. 5G's architecture provides that distributed, high-speed, low-latency network access that Edge really needs to flourish. It helps with local compliance, fast multi-region access, security, redundancy, the whole package.
So let's talk benefits. What do you actually get by moving processing to the edge?
The biggest one is reduced latency, like near zero in some cases because of edge caching. That means faster application responses.
Okay, speed. What else?
Bandwidth savings. You're processing data locally, so you don't have to ship massive amounts of raw data back to the cloud. That saves costs and reduces network load.
Better reliability, too, I guess. Less network congestion.
Right, and improved compliance, because you can keep sensitive data within a specific geographic boundary, reducing those cross-border data transfer worries.
Can you give us some examples? Where is edge making a difference now?
Loads of places. Smart traffic management, autonomous vehicles, they need instant decisions, predictive maintenance in factories, retail supply chains, precision agriculture, live security monitoring.
Even banking.
Yeah, for things like faster transaction processing at APMs or branches, improving the customer experience.
Wipro had an edge example too, right? In life sciences.
Yes, they helped a client re-architect their medical device connectivity platform. They used Azure Pi as an IoT edge to handle different device protocols like FHIR and HL7 right at the edge.
Securely, I assume.
Absolutely. Secure communication was key. The benefits were faster time to market, a more scalable and secure system, and better operational efficiency overall.
Okay, cool. Let's switch gears a bit. Serverless computing. It's not brand new, but it seems to keep growing in importance.
It really does. The market's estimated at what, over $24 billion this year, and expected to grow at like 14% CAGR through 2030.
What's driving that continued growth?
Digital transformation's a big part of it, general cloud adoption, but also this specific need for really agile, cost-effective ways to run code. That's where function as a service, or FAE, comes in.
Right. For anyone new to it, what are the core advantages of going serverless?
Well, the big one is cost. You typically only pay for the compute time you actually consume, down to the millisecond sometimes. No paying for idle servers.
And scaling.
Handled automatically by the provider. It scales up or down based on demand. That drastically cuts operational overhead. Developers can just focus on writing code, not managing servers.
So faster development.
Potentially, yeah. Less infrastructure hassle. Developers focus on the application logic, the features.
Now there's FAE, and then there's BaaS backend as a service. They're related but different, right?
Exactly. Phase is about running those event-driven code snippets, the functions. BaaS provides ready-made backend components like authentication, databases, push notifications, simplifying backend development, especially for mobile and web apps.
Like pre-built Lego blocks for your backend.
Kinda, yeah. Whereas Phase is more like having the individual Lego bricks delivered only when you need to build something specific.
Where are we seeing serverless deployed most? Public cloud still dominates.
Yeah, public cloud is definitely the biggest segment right now. Makes sense, given the mature offerings there. But hybrid cloud serverless is growing significantly too.
And it's not just for big enterprises.
No. Interestingly, smaller businesses, SMEs, are adopting it more and more. It's easier to get started with, requires less deep IT expertise.
Which industries are jumping on board most enthusiastically?
BFSI banking, financial services, insurance is a huge adopter. They often have fluctuating workloads and need real-time analytics, which serverless handles well.
And retail, too.
Retail and consumer goods are also growing fast, using it for things like personalized experiences, powering omni-channel strategies.
Any cool recent developments? New serverless tech?
Definitely. Microsoft just announced Neon Serverless Postgres on Azure. That's pretty
Okay.
big, bringing serverless convenience to a popular relational database.
And AWS.
AWS is always innovating too, with new serverless options for data analysis and management. The big players are clearly still investing heavily here.
Okay, so serverless is definitely sticking around. Now, let's talk about AI and machine learning. It feels like AI is just everywhere in the cloud now.
It absolutely is. It's not just an application running on the cloud anymore. AML is fundamentally changing cloud services themselves. Forrester actually predicts a 40% jump in AI-driven cloud service adoption by next year,
Wow, for what kinds of things?
primarily for predictive analytics, automating tasks, delivering those highly personalized experiences we mentioned.
What are the key areas of AML advancement within the cloud that we should watch?
Well, one interesting area is agentic AI systems that can act autonomously or semi-autonomously to boost productivity.
So AI doing tasks for us.
Essentially, yes. Another big one is AI governance platforms. As AI gets more powerful, we need ways to ensure it's developed and used ethically, transparently, and compliantly.
Makes sense. Governance is crucial.
And then there's disinformation security, using AI to detect and combat the spread of false information, which is a huge challenge online.
And the big cloud providers are all investing heavily in AI.
Massively. AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud, they're all pouring resources into building out their AI platforms and services. It's a major competitive battlefield.
With all that power comes responsibility, though. The ethical side is getting more focused.
It has to. Transparency, fairness, accountability, these are becoming critical considerations in AI development and deployment, especially within the cloud where it scales so easily.
Wipro had an AI example too, didn't they? A service desk.
Yeah, they built a solution on Azure AML for a logistics company. It basically supercharged their internal service desk search.
How so?
It improved the employee experience by making it easier to find information, but also boosted efficiency with features like automatically spotting PII, personally identifiable information, doing entity recognition, and supporting multiple languages. Real practical stuff.
That's a great example of AI solving real business problems. Okay, so with all this happening in the cloud, multi-cloud, edge, serverless, AI security must be absolutely paramount.
Fundamental, non-negotiable. You've got rising cyber threats on one side and increasingly strict data privacy rules like GDPR, CCPA, and others on the other. Cloud security has to keep pace.
So what are the key security trends we're seeing in response?
AI is playing a big role here too. AI-driven threat detection and response, using machine learning to spot anomalies and automate responses in real time much faster than humans could.
Proactive security.
Exactly. Then there's the continued rise of zero-trust architecture, the whole never trust, always verify mantra. Every access request is scrutinized, regardless of whether it's inside or outside the network perimeter.
Like airport security for your cloud resources?
That's a good way to put it. And of course, continuous improvements in data encryption, both for data sitting still, at rest, and data moving around in transit.
Do the cloud providers help with the compliance side of things, navigating all those regulations?
They do. They offer various tools and native services, things like AWS Security Hub, Azure Security Center, Google Security Command Center, designed to help organizations monitor their compliance posture and meet requirements.
And what about keeping things running? Resilience. How do you make sure your cloud setup can handle unexpected problems?
That's where practices like chaos engineering come in.
Chaos engineering sounds chaotic.
It's actually very controlled. It's about deliberately injecting small controlled failures, like shutting down a server or introducing network latency to see how the system responds. It builds confidence that it can handle real-world turbulence, like a fire drill for your cloud systems.
Okay, proactive failure testing. Makes sense.
And we're also seeing more focus on site reliability engineering, SRE principles, borrowing best practices from software engineering to manage infrastructure and operations, plus using deployment strategies like do-green deployments to release updates safely with minimal downtime.
And underlying all of this is good governance, right? Keeping control, especially in complex multi-account setups.
Absolutely critical. Wipro's example with a pharmaceutical company highlighted this. They used AWS Control Tower and guardrails to set up a secure, compliant, multi-account structure.
The benefits.
Better governance, improved security posture, and even cost savings through better control and visibility.
One more term we hear a lot, DevSecOps, integrating security into the development pipeline.
Yeah, it's about shifting security left, making it part of the process from the very beginning, not just a check at the end. Automating security checks, vulnerability scanning, policy enforcement within the CI/CD pipeline.
Wipro had an automotive example for this.
Right. They helped an automotive manufacturer implement secure, agile processes, automation, and proactive vulnerability management using Wipro's own ASO platform, application security orchestration, and correlation.
So security is baked in, not bolted on.
That's the goal.
Oh,
Okay, let's pivot to something getting a lot more attention lately.
right.
Sustainability in the cloud.
Right, the environmental impact of all these data centers.
Exactly. There's a growing awareness and, frankly, pressure regarding the carbon emissions from the energy needed to power and cool data centers, especially with energy-hungry workloads like Gen AI becoming more common.
Yeah, training those huge AI models must take a lot of power.
It does. So sustainability isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's becoming an operational and even cost consideration.
Are the big cloud providers setting targets?
They are. Pretty ambitious ones, actually. Google aims for 100% clean energy by 2030. Amazon's targeting net zero carbon by 2040. Microsoft Azure wants to be carbon negative by 2030.
Impressive goals. Are there challenges?
A big one is just accurately measuring the emissions across the whole value chain, from building the servers to running the software. It's complex.
But the focus is definitely increasing.
Undeniably. And as things like Gen AI scale up, the need for sustainable practices will only become more urgent.
Okay, another trend that feels increasingly central is data sovereignty. What's driving this?
It boils down to organizations getting more concerned about relying on cloud providers headquartered in other countries, and also navigating a fragmenting global regulatory landscape. There's more interest in sovereign clouds.
Sovereign cloud. What exactly does that mean?
Gartner defines it pretty clearly. It's about cloud services delivered within a specific country or region, meeting strict data residency rules, and ensuring operational autonomy, meaning it's free from control or access by foreign entities or governments.
So keeping data and control local.
That's the core idea. It's driven by geopolitics, digital protectionism, and specific industry rules that mandate local data handling.
Which industries are most interested?
Public sector, definitely. Also energy, utilities, finance sectors, often dealing with critical infrastructure or highly sensitive regulated data. They need to prove compliance rigorously.
And failing to meet these sovereignty requirements could have real consequences.
Potentially significant ones. Gartner actually predicts that by 2025, nearly a third of multinationals might lose revenue because they can't meet data sovereignty rules in certain markets.
Wow, so how are the cloud providers responding? Can they help?
They're trying to. They're developing frameworks, offering specific services, sometimes partnering with local companies to create sovereign-compliant offerings within specific regions. It's an evolving space.
What about the economics? Is sovereign cloud more expensive?
It can be. There are advantages, obviously compliance, market access, maybe better performance locally, enhanced security perception, stimulating the local economy. But yeah, there can be higher initial investment costs, maybe less economy of scale than the global clouds, higher operational costs.
But costs might come down.
That's the prediction.
Oh, yeah.
As technology evolves and maybe governments offer incentives, the cost difference is expected to shrink by 2025.
Okay, one last major trend to unpack. This move towards industry-specific clouds or industrial clouds.
Yes, this is a really interesting evolution. We're moving beyond the general-purpose IaaS, PaaS, SaaS layers toward cloud solutions built specifically for certain industries.
Why is that happening now?
Because different industries have unique needs, specific regulations, data formats, workflows, architectural patterns. Generic cloud services might not be the perfect fit. They need domain-centric advancements.
So it's more than just marketing existing services to an industry.
Oh yeah, it's deeper than that. It started maybe with SaaS apps tailored for an industry. Then we saw domain services with preloaded industry data. Now, the hyperscalers are building comprehensive platforms.
Like Microsoft Cloud for retail or healthcare, Amazon FinSpace, Google's healthcare API.
Exactly those kinds of offerings. They're designed from the ground up with industry requirements in mind.
What makes them industrial? What are the key features?
Things like built-in compliance with industry regulations, scalability tuned for typical industry loads, specific security controls, easier integration with common industry software, and often pre-built templates or reference architectures.
Which sectors are leading this adoption?
Banking and financial services and healthcare seem to be furthest along. You see providers offering specific APIs, like Google Cloud's healthcare API for handling formats like FHIR and DICOM, which are standard in healthcare.
Microsoft Cloud for Healthcare sounds like a good example.
It is. It aims to pull together lots of Azure services, data management, collaboration tools, analytics, security, all configured and certified for healthcare needs, compliant with things like HIPAA and HITrust, even including specialized bots.
It's clear the cloud in 2025 is going to be incredibly dynamic, much more specialized.
Absolutely. All these trends we've discussed, multi-ivory and hybrid cloud, edge, serverless, AML integration, the focus on security, sustainability, sovereignty, and these industrial clouds, they're all interconnected.
They're collectively pushing the cloud forward.
Right. They're shaping how businesses use the cloud,
Mhm.
enabling more efficient operations, faster transformation, and greater agility across pretty much every industry.
So to wrap up, you should now have a much clearer picture of the big forces shaping the cloud landscape for 2025. From where your data lives to how AI is changing operations, we covered a lot.
We really did. And as these trends pick up speed, it leaves us with a key question, maybe something for you to mull over. How will organizations balance that need for global reach with the growing demand for local control and compliance in the cloud?
Yeah, that's a tricky balancing act. And maybe also what new skills and roles will become essential to actually navigate this increasingly complex and specialized cloud world.
Definitely food for thought. We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights. Feel free to explore these topics further and let us know your thoughts.
Thanks for joining us.